Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. If you could head over to YouTube and smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Of course, this is Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool preview. So this is the Shankly Sessions section of the Upper Tier Podcast, where we talk all things Liverpool. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about some news, club news. We're going to be previewing the match. We're going to be talking about lineups. Talk about some tactical stuff where we see the danger is from Nottingham Forest. We'll bring you all the latest player news and availability and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about the fixture that's now scheduled for the quarterfinal of the FA Cup for Paddy's Day. We'll talk about that, but we're also going to talk about these players, these young kids who are playing for us at the moment, and we're going to be giving them their flowers. A couple of things to highlight that have come through this week as well. And we'll also dip into the financials as well. The financial results have been released for Liverpool. Some interesting stuff in there, and we'll get your thoughts on that as well. Earlier show than usual, 7:30. I kind of had a day off today. I had a bit to do because it was snowing here most of the day. So basically, I tried to drive into work, got as far as kind of the motorway, and I had to basically turn back. So spent the day here at home preparing shows, various things like that, and doing paperwork, all that interesting kind of stuff that happens in the background before we do these shows. So, of course, if you could subscribe, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video, all that stuff. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, X, everywhere. And of course, the audio shows go up the following day on Spotify as well. So don't forget to check us out over on Spotify on the podcast. And we're also on Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts as well. But let us know your thoughts on this game. We're going to get into it. And as always, we always start with the gaffer's comments on the press conference because that's where it all begins and that's where it all stems from. But before we do that, Stephen is in, the Hammer himself. How are you, Stephen? How are things? Hope you're all good. The Hammers are back. There you go. Paqueta is back. The Hammers are back. What more can we say? But let's delve into the comments from Jurgen during the press conference, and it was interesting enough. Some little tidbits of information came out of it and stuff like that. But he started off talking about the injuries, and he said Darwin and Dom trained yesterday with the team, so you would assume they probably trained today as well. We'll see how they react. Wataru and Robbo didn't, but there's a plan they joined today. Ibu was nothing time sharing. Lucho is fine. Maka is fine. All look. Little problem we didn't know about was Maka was ill for 1.5 days, and Robbo same thing. Hopefully it hasn't spread. This is a virus. This has been kind of crawling through the squad for a little while, but at least some interesting news there. Darwin and Dom training, so we would hold hope that maybe they could make the game tomorrow. But certainly it looks like he was talking about Mo as well, and talking about how Mo wouldn't make the game, but he should be okay for the City game, hopefully. I don't feel I have to protect the young lads. He was asked about protecting the young lads in terms of, the amount of game time and minutes and all that things. He says, I know what he says. I would like to eat my words from Wednesday. What could disturb a young career is what people make of it. You cannot live on the planet if you don't see how special it was. But now it is about how they deal with it. I don't think I needed to mention it, but I did. So my fault. There you go. Answering to that. Talking about Forest, he said Forest made some changes from the last game, so we roughly know who to expect. And besides that, at the moment, our preparation, yes. But we look at the opponent, and it is clear it is real task to find out how we can line up. With all the games we played, it's always about us before games because we demand different things, but this time a bit more than others. Once we know, we can talk about other teams, but we will see. Newcastle, Man United, Villa. It's not been easy for teams at Forest with the counter-attacking threat they have. Protection is massive for us. We have to control that part of the game as well. We want to play the game a great atmosphere, definitely. And he's highlighting the fact that it's an absolutely massive game and stuff like that. So it's really, really important from that point of view. Like we're playing first, so City don't play until the Super Sunday. The Manchester Derby and Arsenal, I think, aren't playing till Monday. So it's really, really, really important. that we put the points on the board and keep the pressure on there, and let's see what happens. He says, the joy, the pride after the game Wednesday, it's great to see how the boys deal with it. It was a full squad achievement. We needed them to be guided, this experience with them, and they all know that. I congratulated the senior players after the game and how they dealt with the situation. They really enjoyed having the youngsters around and what they can give us. That was wonderful. Yesterday was a wonderful day with the staff picture. Usually we do that when we win a trophy, but we did it yesterday with full academy staff. I really wanted everyone to feel it, the role they played in the whole story. It was really cool, but now we play Forest and we have to find solutions. Dampening down, putting down kind of, let's savor it down now, what we've done and stuff like that, and let's get back to business here and let's get refocused. When you're not in your best moment, you have to keep the game open until you can win it. I think he's talking more there about the chances that we cough up, but we stay in the game. And then when those opportunities come, we have to take them. Really important. Until we get asked about 4 trophies, we don't think about it for 1 second. It's not important. We try to win the next game. Take it game by game. It's not a phrase journalists like too much, but we can't do it differently. So yeah, he's talking about in terms of, this talk of quadruples again and stuff like that. We seen last time how it all kind of panned out when we came up short and stuff like that. So I think he's learned from that experience there and stuff like that. Stephen's in. We are playing the Aldi version of Liverpool tomorrow. I don't know. The Aldi version. It's written in the stars for Liverpool to win the title this season. What a send-off that would be for Klopp. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it's just, these are the games, Stephen, that I get really concerned about, even though they're, no disrespect to Forest and stuff like that. And we'll talk about their form and go into all that shortly. But they're not in a good, rich vein of form. Nuno transitioning in they've struggled big time. Obviously, they were missing players. And now some of those players are back. But this is always one, look what happened last year and stuff like that. This is always one of those fixtures where you can potentially cough up chances and players can take them. And then you're in a different game, even if you look at the game against Southampton there on Wednesday, the amount of chances we coughed up to Southampton in both halves, but essentially in the first 15, 20 minutes as well. More clinical teams might put them away, and then you find yourself in a very different match if you're 1 or 2-0 down. So that's what we really have to be careful about. And they can't be talking about quadruples at the moment with the level of injuries and all. He says the results are incredibly important, but I wouldn't say it was a response to the Arsenal result. They were asking, I think one of the journalists asked him, Paul Gorst, I think, asked him, what was the reaction to the Arsenal game with the run that and stuff like that. And he made the point it wasn't a reaction to the Arsenal game. Arsenal were good. We weren't as good as we could have been. That can happen. If you can only reach your targets by winning all your games, then that is tough. You have to use the lesser good things as much as you use the good things. We never use that and say we have to show we're not as bad as that night. Not at all. It was the Brentford game. We knew the situation became more tricky because of injuries. We found a solution for Luton, found a way, won it impressively, and it was the same with the final. Southampton will try the same in Nottingham. So he's making the point that it's quite a fluid situation at Liverpool at the moment when it comes to players, and in terms of who they can potentially pick from and who's available and how you find that balance between the youth and the experience and all that kind of stuff. But the league has to be a huge priority for us in all these situations. We're only 1 above Man City and 2 ahead of Arsenal, but 60 points is a statement for this level. But stay there and we probably don't get Champions League, so let's go. So he says everything we've done up to this point in the league, it's all really good. We are where we are, but we've got to keep it going. This is the run in now. This is the business end of the season. But stay there, yeah, in Champions League, let's go. 2 years ago, we had stronger squad situation because of injuries. We could make changes for each competition. You cannot really compare, but what it showed us, we can fight for everything, win something. Some people are happy, others say it wasn't enough. So I think he's responding there to comments in relation to some of the stories coming out on the quadruple and how they're talking about how, we were going for a quadruple and we ended up with the 2 domestic cups and stuff like that. And, that was seen as a huge disappointment, and it was a huge disappointment in fairness, but that could be a huge season for a lot of teams if you won 2 domestic trophies and stuff like that. So interesting from the gaffer there again. So different the dynamic between Klopp's press conferences and Linder's press conferences. Like Klopp is much more higher level in terms of strategy and stuff like that. Linder's is more technical breakdown and stuff like that. And that's why I really kind of like both. I don't think Mo is too far off, but he will not be on the pitch tomorrow. And from there, we have to go touch and go. Mo is a bit longer. Maybe next week is possible. He's on the way back, definitely not for tomorrow. So Mo's ruled out for tomorrow, but he might be back in for next week. So if he got some minutes against Sparta, and then that tuned him up basically for the City game, that would be good if that was the case. If it was about the people around me, I love my senior players and young boys coming through. Gives me a feeling for the future. It's not that I have said, and I said this 5 million times. It's about what is right. That is why I am leaving. It's not about some players. There you go. So just reinforcing the point that it's, and we spoke about it last night, Thursday Tier Talk with Darren. Joe Gomez making the point that it really doesn't matter what we achieve this season and what we win and stuff like that. It's not going to change the gaffer's mind, because I think we all got carried away last weekend with the Carabao Cup and the images and the excitement and the happiness and all that kind of stuff. And the way we went about it and the way we did it and the romantic side of that falls out of that. And I was definitely guilty of it as well, is that you start thinking, could we change his mind? But obviously that's Joey's kind of saying it's not the case. He's kind of alluding to it there a little bit himself. That's it really from the gaffer in terms of press conference. So it's an interesting one, as I said. The dynamic is kind of a little bit interesting because he doesn't tend to. You rarely see him really breaking down real technical stuff. It's all very top level stuff. Obviously, he gives us updates on players and all that kind of stuff, and who's trained, who hasn't trained, who's due for training, and all that kind of stuff. But again, with Linders, it's very precise. It's very detailed. It's like Linders. It's like Jurgen comes into the press conferences and he's kind of semi-prepared, and he just lets the questions flow and answers them as they happen. I'd say Pep Linders, when he's doing the press conference, he's meticulous in his preparation and stuff like that. Let's have a quick rundown first of all of, obviously form at the moment. Forest are coming in. They can feel somewhat aggrieved going out of the FA Cup 1-0 to United. A goal that was scored that definitely looked very similar to the Van Dijk goal that was disallowed. Same referee as well. So interesting to see on that. We obviously beat Southampton 3-0. Kumas with the goal and Downs with a brace, and what a night it was. And we'll talk about it. There's some interesting slides here I want to see. Bring a little bit of romance to the show, as they say. But certainly Nuno is struggling in there. You haven't really felt that manager bounce. You haven't felt a huge lot has changed really compared to when Stevie Cooper was there and stuff like that. But again, let us know your thoughts, any of you Forest fans on the chat or something like that if you're there. If you're looking at form at the moment, they 4 losses, a draw and a win. The win was a decent win against a kind of a wounded West Ham, I would say. Forest beat them 2-0. West Ham were on a poor run there and stuff like that as well. A lot of pressure there and stuff like that. But the losses have come to Brentford 3-2. And the one thing about Forest, 2-1 to Arsenal as well. They drew then with Bournemouth 1-1. Lost then to Newcastle 3-2. And then they lost to Aston Villa 4-2. Aston Villa were outstanding that night. Forest did get back into the game. I think at one stage it was 3-0 to Villa at one stage, and then it became 3-2. And then they Forest again, or Villa again scored and put it to bed. I think Leon Bailey scored that fourth, and then it was out of kind of sight. But if you look at Nottingham Forest, they don't tend to get pumped. They're always challenging within the game. They're physical within the game. They always keep themselves in the game. So they don't tend to get, like, you rarely see Forest going out and getting pumped 4-5-6-0 kind of thing and stuff. That they're always a goal or two just off it maybe and stuff like that. So it's definitely something to be aware of. If you look at team news at the moment, take a look at Forest here. Willy Bolly is out. Sangara is out as well, and Ayana is out as well. Nuno Tavares has been ruled out for a few weeks as well, and so was Chris Wood. Chris Wood, when Nuno came in, kind of started off okay. He's been out injured ever since. So in his absence, of course, Iwoni is in there, ex-Liverpool boy as well. So he'll want to put on a show tomorrow. Divock Origi was in there during the week as well. kind of did okay, but flatter to deceive, really, and stuff like that. The one that really concerns me a little bit is Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's had a bit of a rejuvenation under Nuno at Nottingham Forest. He has come back in. I think he scored 3 goals or something in the last 4 games or something like that. But he's impressed me the way he's gone about his business. So he would be one to watch out for. And again, we'll go through the lineups and you can let me know your thoughts. And the Reds we already spoke about. A Salah definitely out, probably maybe minutes for the Sparta game, and then probably a bit of a tune up and then into the City game, I would imagine. Dominic potentially could be back. Darwin potentially could be back. They might make the game. Does he put them into the game? Does he spring them from the bench if they're available? Let's see, but it'd be great to have them back. Endo hopefully will be able to shake off that knock. He might be able to come in. Gravenberch, I don't think we're making it anyway, but I think Endo could potentially make it back, hopefully. And then, of course, we heard about Robbo with the illness and McAllister with the illness as well. So hopefully they'll have shaken that off and be able to go. The one thing about Robbo is we do have options there anyway. And we look at it in the lineup. You can again let me know your thoughts. But out at the moment, of course, Matip, we know about Ben Doak, Curtis Jones, Trent, Stefan, Thiago, Diogo Jota, Alisson Becker. Kanate looks like he's going to be all right. Luis Diaz back in. Alexis McAllister back in as well. So that's kind of roughly your team news. Okay, who do you think got an easier Europa League draw, West Ham or Liverpool? It's hard to tell. Probably on the basis of just the draw, if you have all your players back and all, probably Liverpool. But if we're still going to be struggling with injuries and all that kind of stuff, then it kind of slides the draw a little bit. But never easy as well going away to Sparta Prague. That's always a tough game. And remember, we're coming off right a Saturday game against Nottingham Forest. Well, you think about a Carabao Cup final on Sunday. We got Southampton on the Wednesday. Now we have Nottingham Forest on the Saturday. We're going to have Sparta on the Thursday, and then Man City on the Sunday. So, like, that's quite a cluster of games. Quite a cluster of games to get through and stuff like that. So looking at the lineup here for Forest, you're looking at Sells, Williams, Niakte, Morello, Toffolo, Danilo, Dominguez, Elanga, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, and Awoni. Now that's quite an attacking front line there if you think about how they work with Elanga, Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, and Awoni. All those players capable of scoring, all those players capable of having pace to run back and run off the shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And that's something we're going to have to be aware of tomorrow. Really. And again, going to the City ground, generally not an easy place to go to, especially if you're hit with injuries. Massive crowd there, and of course, real old school educated crowd as well at Nottingham Forest as well. So we're going to have to be careful of that. I'm going to take a look at our lineup now in a minute, just bringing Keith here. Keith, how are we? We still should have enough to beat Forest tomorrow, but I think it will be 2-1. Yeah, I'm not expecting it to be easy by any means. I'd imagine Forest will put up a tough show there. And these are the kind of games that kind of have led to derailing us at times. And that's why I'm so concerned about that, and especially with the injuries and all that kind of stuff. But we are on a bit of a run at the moment. But it's whether eventually does it catch up with you? Does it fall short with the amount of chances you're coughing up? Does eventually a team take those chances and the pressure becomes too much? And it'll be interesting to see as well with the young lads in the team, depending on who he picks and who comes in and stuff like that. I don't think those young lads have fully experienced going behind in a real pressure situation. I think we've rode our luck, coughed up chances, they didn't score, and we eventually got ahead, and we've been stronger in second halves and stuff like that. But I think tomorrow we're going to have to be more on it, because I think these boys, Elanga, Gibbs White, I know Gibbs White very dangerous. Hudson-Odoi obviously is having a nice little run at the moment, and Awoni, we know the power of Awoni and what he can do. He's punished us before, so I think we just really need to be careful. I don't want to start looking past games and stuff like that and start predicting this, that, and the other. Just get the 3 points on the board, get out of there. Hopefully, no more injuries, and then we push on to Thursday, and then we push on to the weekend to the big one. And that's where it's at. But every game at the moment now is a big game, you know. Let's have a look at our lineup. I just threw the lineup together based on what he was telling us today. Let me know what you think. Is that a starting one, or is it any different, or how would you shape it and stuff like that? If Robbo was still hurting from the illness, do you put in Costas there? Do you put in Joe Gomez in there? Does Joe still go back into the six if Endo isn't ready yet and stuff? Does Dom start? Or do we put McConnell in? Mac, I presume, is going to start by the looks of things. Does Darwin go in? Or do we go with something else? Does Dan's go in there? Luis Diaz looks like he's going to be restored back in there on the left. Harvey, I'd imagine, on the right. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you're thinking on the lineup as well. I think we do have options. I think we just need to be a little bit careful with Bradley as well. He's played, there's a lot of minutes gone into him over the last couple of weeks and stuff like that in pressure situations. So we need to just be careful with that young lad and stuff. Like he's a breath of fresh air and he's excellent and he's hungry to play and all that kind of stuff. But we don't want that to happen to the lad with the amount of minutes going into him now at a high level and stuff like that. Well, Kanate, if there's any issue there, we'll put Kwanzaa in or whatever it is, or Joe could go in there as well, depending on what we do in midfield. But we definitely, I mean, there's definitely options all over the place. It's just a question of what way does he want to start it? Has Robbo kicked the illness along with Mac? Are they okay? I think McAllister will be fine. But Robbo, he's only coming back really. He's only trying to find himself again after the injuries and stuff like that and all. So maybe he might have to be managed. Does Costas going there? Certainly Costas' delivery is excellent, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Just defensively, I just want to be careful. Quavin, of course, in goals has done a stellar job. Can't say enough about Quavin. I said loads about Quavin even prior to the final and stuff like that. No, don't get the disrespect that kid gets. But let's see what happens. This is kind of what I'm looking at. I think if Dom and Darwin are ready, I think they probably need minutes in them, especially with that big game coming up next weekend. Because I think next weekend we're probably going to see a lineup that looks a little more like what we're used to, not what we've been seeing. And then let's see how that all fleshes out with the youth and what way they work and stuff like that. But that's the kind of lineup I'm thinking at the moment. And that lineup there, especially if that midfield happens, if we get Alexis, Endo, and Dom, if he's not saving them for City or Sparta Prague, I think that's a very strong midfield against a Forest side that haven't been hitting their straps, let's say. Acers is in, big up Acers. Freiburg 1, Bayern Munich 0. What's going on with Bayern Munich? Good Lord. Unbelievable. But yeah, like I said, that lineup I think should be strong enough to beat Forest. I still think the game will be tight. I'm kind of thinking myself, like Keith, somewhere around the 2-1 and stuff like that. Obviously, we'd like a lot more and stuff like that and make it more comfortable. But I think if we can put the 3 points on the board and just at the end, playing first, throw the pressure back onto City and the pressure back onto Arsenal on Monday. That's all we can do. I think the gaffer's right in terms of all we can do is look after ourselves and manage each game as it comes. And just it's really points now again over performance. I'm not really worried about looking for an amazing performance. I'm looking to get the points and move on. That's what's most important. Acer's back in. Rock Instagram video on what he said to Cody Rhodes makes SmackDown tonight massive with Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and Roman and Rock on that show. Yeah, should be interesting. Should be interesting, no doubt about it. Right, let's get into a few other bits here. Obviously, we mentioned already. Quarter final, Old Trafford, March 17, Paddy's Day, kickoff, Super Sunday, 3:30. Going to be a cracking game. I'm really looking forward to this. Hope and fingers crossed as well. We have two solid squads going into it as well. So this old rivalry can come back together and stuff like that, and we can see where it goes. Quarter final of the cup. Greg was on earlier. I think he sent me stuff on WhatsApp as well. Greg was saying that I think it's Champion are doing a one-nighter where you can stay over for a night and go to the match, and it's about 350 or 375 or something like that anyway. So very, very expensive these days, especially to go and see United and Liverpool or any of the more top teams at the moment that charging top wage for it. But that is set March 17th, 3:30, Sunday. Should be a cracker. City and United games, same kickoff times. Yeah, I think they do that. Once it's the bigger ones, I think they do that, and especially on a Sunday. Want to talk about these boys. Unbelievable what they've done. I'm going to have to go full screen on this one. But incredible. Jaden Van's now 7th in the all-time youngest goal scorers for Liverpool. Absolutely incredible. When you look down through there, Ben Woodburn is the youngest. Cade Gordon, Michael Owen, Jordan Rossiter, Keanu Hoover, Raheem Sterling, Jimmy May, Stefan Bietic is in there as well. So some interesting names. But Jaden Dans scoring a brace the other night, as cool as you like in front of the cop. And that's what I really like about these young lads. Lewis Kilmus as well. I think he's 10th on the list, I think, or something like that. But that's what I love about these young lads. They can go in there and they're absolutely fearless, and the gaffer allows them to go in and express themselves that way. And also, absolutely delighted for the boys making that list. Fantastic stuff. Want to talk about this as well. This is such a Liverpool story, isn't it? You look at Jaden Dans there, and like two years previous, I think it was, to scoring his brace the other night and stuff like that. What a moment that must have been for that kid, banging 2 goals in the FA Cup in the cop end and stuff like that. I think he only came on in 62 minutes as well to get that brace. But there he is. I think it's 2 years or 3 years previous, they were saying, and he was a ball boy. And look at the difference. The celebration is still the same. The celebration is still the same. And that love and that desire to succeed and everything, you can see it there in both pictures. And fair play to him. He's going to have hopefully a really, really good career, and long may his development continue. But he looks as cool as be damned in front of goal. What a chip for the first one as well. Dazzler in the Stretford end, watching Liverpool destroy United and ending their season officially. Don't think he's going over for it. He was talking to me today about it and stuff like that. We were even contemplating how we might potentially watch it as well if the kids are going out to the parade and all that kind of thing on Paddy's Day. So yeah, he said he had a bit of sorting to do on that. So, but I don't think he's heading over to it, because I know 3 weeks later I think we're heading over to the Palace game. So interesting. Wanted to talk about this kid as well, Inyoni as well. Absolutely stellar. Third youngest player in the club's history, and Liverpool's youngest ever player in the FA Cup. And you could see him coming on and stuff like that, and he kind of was standing on the sideline, and you could see there was a bit of nervousness and a bit of apprehension, and he was the way the camera worked it was really, really cool. He was kind of this lone figure on the sideline. He's only a kid, like, you know what I mean? And like 16 years of age for that. Like, imagine that being your life. You're walking out there on Anfield, 16 years of age. Kids who go on the tour of Anfield get blown away at 16 years of age. Imagine putting on the kit and walking out to play for them and stuff like that. Absolutely incredible. Of course, Jerome Sinclair is in there, and Harvey Elliott as well. Third youngest player in the club's history, so fabulous. But what I was saying is, when he was sort of that lone figure on the sideline, the next thing out of nowhere, Klopp comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's all good, and it's like Klopp just sucks that pressure off him, kind of thing. Give him a big hug, and the kid was absolutely chuffed to be coming on and stuff like that. And I'm sure the gaffer was absolutely chuffed to give him that opportunity as well. So hats off to him as well. Absolutely fantastic. Picked up a little bit here from Endo as well that I wanted to discuss. Wataru Endo on playing through the pain at Wembley. He said, it hurt, but I thought I had no choice but to do it. I did it in pain. There you go. And he said, both hamstrings felt like they were going to hang, but I managed to complete the 120 minutes. I came to this team for this kind of fight. Isn't that what you want to hear from your players? Like, if you're a manager at the moment and you're managing at the top end and you're fighting for trophies and all that kind of stuff, and your team is decimated with injuries, and we are decimated with injuries, to have a player like this come out, Wataru Endo coming out like that, and to make a statement like that, I came to this team for this kind of fight. And that's what you want to hear from your players, isn't it? That's really what you want to hear from your players. So I thought that was a great line to come out from them and stuff like that. And it's fabulous. And think about it when you go back to last summer, the disappointment of not getting Caicedo, and then all the vitriol that was thrown at the signing of Wataru Endo. Good Lord, how he has turned out. Absolutely fabulous. And long may it continue as well. Look, if there was ever a man who's rolling back that age is but a number, this man is doing it. All the talk of this man's age and stuff like that. Crazy. Big up with Taro Endo. Turned everyone around. Let's talk about the financials that came out. Media revenue fell by 19 million to 242 million. Match day revenue fell by 7 million to 80 million. I wonder, is that related to the work that was going on the stand and stuff like that? Is that what affected it? Because it's unusual that match day revenue would fall only for that. But we would see that coming out in the new set of accounts for the fall this year. It should be greatly boosted and stuff like that, with that other 10,000 seats in there. Commercial revenue rose by 25 million to 272, as it always does. We always do a fabulous off-field job on commercial revenues. Administrative costs rose by 17 million to 562 million. That's an interesting one as well, because that was one that they were concerned about. The cost of the administrative costs. So I'm surprised at that one that they hadn't brought it down somewhat more, because they said they were working on it. Now we might see it in the new set of accounts. Maybe it kind of takes time to filter through and stuff like that. So interesting. Overall revenue remains static at 500, just a guts of 600 million, let's say. And loss before tax was 9 million. So very, very, very low. Big up, Henry. How are you, my friend? Hope you're all good. Hope things are going good for you. And all that kind of good stuff. Hope you're looking forward to the game tomorrow as well. Nice to be back in Premier League action after all our cup adventures, as they say. But not too sure. I'm sure Swiss Ramble will, if you're following him on Twitter, or if you're not, giving him a follow and stuff like that. He normally breaks down the financials much better, and he'll probably put a lot more detail around this, and we'll discuss it on future shows and stuff like that. But yeah, very positive at the moment. And I think actually as well that I read somewhere as well that we have become the club that sells the most amount of shirts. That I read somewhere in the region 3 million plus shirts sold every year, or so, sold last year, or something like that. Massive amount of shirts that was sold, and we were ahead of everyone else. Yeah, I'm all good. I tried to go into work today, but I couldn't. It got snowed off. The snow came down. Snow on the 1st of March. It's absolutely mad, isn't it? That goes to show you how much the seasons are confused at the moment and stuff. So the plan is, I think there's a forecast tomorrow. It's supposed to be okay, but it looked like the sky was full of snow there again. And it's unusual for us to get it as well, because we're kind of on the coast. So generally we kind of just get the sleet and the slush. But I had a couple of dog owners dropping off dogs this morning. They came down and their cars were full of snow, and I was heading off into work. I got as far as the motorway and I had to throw them back. So, but yeah, I'm always all good, pal. All good, and I hope you are too. And I hope we get the result tomorrow and the Reds stay top of the table. That's the main thing. It's been pouring with rain today. Yeah, we were getting a kind of a mixture. It kind of started out here on the coast. It was kind of that heavy sleet kind of rain, and then it switched to snow kind of mid-morning and stuff like that for a couple of hours. But yeah, all good. Absolutely. So yeah, so that's kind of your roundup, and it's kind of your preview for the Forest game. As I said, not going to be an easy game. Nuno will have them well organised. I'd like to see us kind of start off a bit quicker. I'd like to see us be more in the game a bit quicker. This talk of second half FC and all that kind of stuff. I'd like it to be a bit more balanced. I think we've seen a little bit of it in the Southampton game. Again, the first 15 minutes, I think they were really at it and stuff like that, and could have scored a couple of goals. Do you know why FSG never shows so much disrespect to the club as owners? I have no idea why they didn't show. Tom Werner was there though, wasn't he? Tom Werner was there, because I seen him. He was talking to Virgil and he was talking to Klopp, in the up the steps in the corridors and stuff like that and all. I've no idea why John Henry wasn't there. I've no idea. It could be a scheduling thing. Who knows? I'm sure, and it's unusual as well, because I'm sure that with an opportunity to win a bit of trophy and put themselves out there and stuff like that, they tend to rock up for these things. They don't tend to miss a lot of them and stuff like that. So, but I've no idea. But I'm sure it will come out and stuff like that. But no idea, unless you've heard that, let me know. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough enough game. Each week that goes on, or each match that comes around, I kind of get a little bit excited for the lineups coming out, to see who we might pick, or what's the mix he's gone with, and what's his thinking, and what's the players he had available, and how is he going to balance that? How does he keep a little bit for the bench to have an impact later on in the game if it's not potentially going our way, and all that kind of stuff. So I do get excited for the lineups and stuff like that, which will be really, really interesting. I hope Darwin and Dom are back and they play some part in tomorrow's game. You really feel at the moment to maintain our situation in the league and also in the Europa League, and we probably need to start getting players back pretty soon to pad it out a little bit more. No disrespect to the youngsters and stuff like that, but I think there's only so much mileage we can get out of that before it will eventually buckle. And I don't want it to buckle at a key moment and it to be pinned on the younger players and stuff like that. A younger player makes a mistake or something happens or something like that. I don't want that to be, the overriding situation if something goes astray and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get some of these players back, and hopefully in some of the games we can still see that sprinkling of youth being used at times when it suits and when it fits and stuff like that. They've done a great job and should be commended for it and all that kind of stuff. But it should be hopefully a win for the Reds tomorrow. It is a difficult place to go. Nuno in there hasn't kind of really hit his straps yet, but they're always going to raise the game against the likes of Liverpool when they're in town. It'll be a boisterous crowd. It'll be interesting if the youth is deployed, if McConnell is in there, if Dance is in there. Be interesting to see how they handle an away game in a tough ground, also steeped in history. And again, up against a couple of our old boys as well, Awoni and Divock Origi potentially. Henry's in. Well, at least someone represented FSG. Then I'm glad Dom and Nunes has trained, but no Mo. Yeah, no Mo. I'd say probably with Mo Salah, I'd say he's probably learned from the Trent situation. He doesn't need any reoccurrences at this stage because that would be an absolute disaster. And we're going to be heavily relying on Mo Salah in the last 2 to 3 months of the season and stuff like that to lean on him to deliver. So yeah, I'd say it's just, slowly there. Do what you got to do to get over the line. As I said, points over performance all the time at the moment. Until we start getting these boys back, and then when the likes of Mo is back and Trent is back and Darwin's back firing and Dominic's back firing and stuff like that, then we can start breaking down again performances and all that kind of stuff. But at the moment, just go out there and get the points, Reds, whatever way, shape, form it comes, we're going to be happy. Yeah, but until next time, folks, thanks for joining me for the preview. Should be an interesting game. If you can subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, drop a like on the video, and of course, check out the audio shows as well. If you're going for a walk during the day or you're hitting the gym or whatever it is, bang on the audio show. Always interesting to listen to as well. Henry with the last comment, but we do have the Sparta Prague game after the break as well. We certainly do. And Andrew was in. Big up, Andrew. Everyone, Niall, hope well. Yeah, all good, Andrew. All good here, my friend. Big game coming up for you, Andrew, on Sunday. Merseyside Derby. You need to strap yourself in for that one. That could be very interesting. That could get a little bit toxic if it goes really, really bad. But who knows what's going to happen in a derby. Form sometimes goes out the window, but let's see what happens on that one. I'd like nothing more than United to halt City and get a draw or a win. There's very few times in the year you'll hear me cheer for United. Sunday could be one of them. Folks, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. If you are battling against weather or snow or anything like that, stay in. Don't take the risk. It's not worth it. And we will probably be back over the weekend with a match reaction, no doubt about that. But if not, we'll be back next week. Monday mashup on the Monday. Wednesday will probably be our usual slot for Pro Wrestling Weekly. Probably do a preview show for the Sparta game as well. And then we have that big one at the weekend. This could be potentially the league decider. Henry, enjoy the rest of your day, pal. I absolutely will. And you, my friend. And I'll talk to you all again real soon. Cheers.